Hiya Sam, lovely to meet up with you and have a chat at the range and work further on your game. Quick recap on the key points that we covered, and contrary to my comment just as you left, I've spurred you the Ricky Fowler footage. What I have done is found some good footage of Charlie Wee here that relates nicely to what we were talking about out on the range. A couple of key points, and we'll watch it first of all. Still at the top, we've got some good things going on. I don't like the hand movement initially. And not a bad look in P4 there, but we do get a little bit ill-disciplined, get a little bit long in the arms. So that right elbow lifts, and there's a slight relieving of pressure point 5 there under the right arm as you get to the top. Good extension in the lower body, good extension in the pelvis, make a nice centred turn, and good improvements in the foot floor. However, still want that top of the backswing tightening up. So theme really for the day was getting the arms in and controlling the length of the arms during the backswing. And rest assured, if you can ask Cole to confirm it, you will get sick of me telling you to get your hands and arms in and control P4 before this year's out. So if we look a little bit closer at what's happening, P1 to P2. First thing at P1, you could maybe soften up this right side. You can see here Charlie Wee has got a little bit more of a kink in the right arm, and that can help you with the inward component of the hands in the early part of the swing. So softening the right arm drops the right shoulder back a little bit, also helps you keep pressure point 5 a little bit more at setup and throughout the swing. So that's something that you maybe want to address at P1, soften the right arm up. P1 to P2, however, is all about what accumulator 3 does. What does the back of the left hand do? If we look at your move, the back of the left hand rotates a little bit excessively, and as a result, the club is rolled behind the hands. The feeling I want you to have is that there's zero loading of accumulator 3 from P1 to P2. And you can see when Charlie Wee does that, the back of the left hand hasn't rotated, the arms and the hands have worked in much more. The club is out in front of the hands, but has still worked inwards during the early part of the takeaway. Also, the left tilt and the pitch of the shoulders is more on an inclined plane because of that. So the key thought for you and the key feel for you is what you see in Charlie Wee do here from P1 to P2. There's various ways you can achieve this. Some players achieve it by simply working the left shoulder down. Other players achieve this by trying to feel that the club face points at the ball continuously from P1 to P2. And other players achieve this by simply trying to make sure that the back of the left hand doesn't rotate at all or stays pointed at the target from P1 to P2. Those are all feels. At the end of the day, it's the movement that's important. So you consider that movement rather than a slight rolling of the club face. So club stays on the line a little bit too long initially, hands don't come in enough, and then in an attempt to get the club and the hands on the inside, there's a rolling and a loading of accumulator 3. You could make that work. It may sound a little bit picky, but I'm just trying to get things as low maintenance as I can for you. If we then look at Charlie's P4, a good loading of the wrists on the way back and a nice tight position at P4 with a pressure point under the right arm has been maintained. With yourself, we tend to get the arms coming a little bit too long, lifting off the rib cage just ever so slightly, and a lot of that can be put down to the way you take the club back P1 to P2, but also an awareness of where the top of the backswing is. So what we'd want is a slight increase in the loading of the wrists from P1 to P3, and that in turn would help us tighten up P4, because the golf club would arrive at parallel or in the desired position much sooner. One of the things we talked about was that there was a lack of loading of the wrists as well, and as a result the arm swing gets excessive. So here we're trying to shorten the swing, get you to stop at P3, and you can see when you do that you tend to load the wrists more. So the angle that was established here at address of, let's say, 135, 140 degrees, is now loading slightly. That should be about 90 degrees at that point. You can see there that there's a slight lack of loading. Anytime you can make P3 swings, trying to hit the ball as far as you can, shorten the player's backswing, the tendency is that that player will start to load the wrist or load accumulator 2 more in an attempt to get some travel on the club head and generate some power. So arms in, 0 rotation of accumulator 3, back of the left hand from P1 to P2, and then tighten up that position at P4. Good luck with it. If you have any questions, feel free to fire me an email. I look forward to watching your progress over the coming months. Well done.